All right. Okay. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I will be, we're excited to have you here with us today. And it is my pleasure to have you here with us today. So we will be starting in a matter of few minutes. There was a bit technical issue earlier, but that has been sorted now. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists for the day and as well as our moderator for the day. And once I'm done introducing both of them, you will have to just sit back, relax, and then take all the information you can take from this session. I am very certain it is going to be an insightful session. All right. So the first panelist I will be introducing this afternoon or evening or I don't think it's morning anywhere on the continent of Africa, is Obasanjo Fajemirokun. He's a passionate education advocate and social impact leader with over 8 years of experience designing and leading community-driven initiatives across Nigeria. And his work spans across quality education, inclusive leadership, civic engagement, climate advocacy, and youth empowerment. He's also the creator of Y-App, a civic tech platform promoting the political inclusion of youth, women, and persons with disability in Nigeria's electoral process. He's currently the representative of World Connect Inc. in Nigeria, USA. World Connect Inc. USA is the Nigerian representative and a master's degree student in international business from African Business School, UM6P. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Morocco. And he holds a bachelor degree in business administration and professional diploma in education from Babcock University. His academic and professional experiences fuel his system thinking approach to solving education, social justice, and climate challenges. His leadership has earned global recognition, including 2024 Top 12 finalists, Opportunity Desk 30 Under 30 Impact Challenge, 2023 Outstanding Youth in Leadership, United Nations Association of Nigeria, Humanitarian of the Year, Future Leadership Conference, Top 100 Most Influential Young People in Africa, Opportunities Hub 2021. This is just an excerpt of his profile. Please make welcome Obasanjo Fajemirokun. Please, in the chat, use your emoji, use all the emojis you can think of to welcome Obasanjo in the chat. Okay, and while we're doing that, while we're welcoming Obasanjo, I will also quickly go ahead and introduce our second panelist. Obasanjo, if you can hear me, you can put on your video now, and my colleagues are going to spotlight you. All right. So I'll go ahead and introduce the second panelist for the day. And he's no other person than Damilola Obidairo. He's an enterprise and talent development specialist. He's a seasoned business and project development practitioner with passion for making an impact with a first degree in chemical engineering. And he has over nearly 2 decades of business development and project management experience. He has navigated various sectors, including oil and gas, telecoms, infrastructure, and recently impact projects in West Africa. He's the CEO at 8 Gear Hub and Venture Studio. He leads the charge in building ventures from ideas and providing crucial enterprise development and support services to startups and MSMEs on their journey towards digital transformation. Throughout his career, he has forged partnership and led teams in collaboration with esteemed organizations and donor funders such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, University of California, San Diego, United States Africa Development Foundation, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, LEAP Africa, GIZ, ECOWAS, and so many others. From project conceptualization to execution, it's played a pivotal role in driving success and delivering measurable impact. Beyond the boardroom, Damilola finds joy in simple pleasures, from enjoying epic movies to cycling and swimming. He embraces life's adventures. He's a talented guitarist, singer, songwriter, and avid gardener. He finds solace in music and nature, and amidst it all, he cherishes time and his loving family, including his two intelligent daughters. Please, using your favorite emoji, make welcome Damilola Obidairo as the second panelist this afternoon. And moderating this session is going to be no other person. I'm not seeing your welcome emoji. I'm not seeing you celebrating Damilola in the chat. I've not seen enough emoji. I've not seen enough applause. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. All right, we need to let our panelists know that we are happy to have them and we're excited to have them with us this afternoon. All right, so I won't be the one moderating the session, and right now I'm going to be introducing the moderator for this session, and she is Mercy Oguche. She's an excellent driven professional with over 5 years of experience in project management, research, and coordination of programs in the gender and protection sectors. She has a Bachelor of Technology and MSc in Industrial Chemistry with a postgraduate diploma in education. She has participated in coordinating training for youth and led teams in sensitization outreaches on prevention and responding to gender-based violence, and research to identify gaps in service delivery for survivors of gender-based violence, and development of curriculum on the hotline in responding to survivors of gender-based violence. In addition, she has attended different capacity building training, which has enhanced her efficiency in synergizing and delivering excellent results on given task. Again, if you're not too busy, and I don't think you should be busy at this time, please make welcome our moderator for today's session. Hi, Mercy, you're welcome, and I will be passing the mic over to you right now.
Hi, Oluwaseyi Simeon. Good evening, everyone. I believe whether you are in East Africa, in Southern Africa, in the Francophone region in West Africa, probably those in Ghana might still be just approaching evening. Yeah, so a very good evening to you, everyone. It's so good to be on this call this evening. And thank you so much, Damilola and Obasanjo, for joining us this evening. Apologies once again for the delay due to some technical issues, and we will try to still keep to time. Okay, so if you have any concerns, kindly note it down in the chat section. And if you have any questions, there's a Q&A icon that is just below your screen, or if you are using your phone, it could be just above the screen. You could please note down your questions as the session commences and progresses, and we will attend to your questions later, just to enhance flow. All right, thank you everyone once again for joining us. So quickly, without much ado, Damilola, this question goes to you. Once again, this afternoon, we are talking about the volunteer journey. You know, just to give a background, I, for one, am somebody that, to a large extent, I was able to find my footing in social development, starting as a volunteer. And I met quite a couple of people who are still in the social development sector, who started in that path. And beyond just starting, one of the things I've come to realize about volunteering is that volunteering is a lifelong thing. And you can also volunteer as an expert. You can volunteer as a mentor. You can volunteer as a coach. You can volunteer as a facilitator. It's a lifelong process. So I don't just want us to think that it's limited to when you're starting your career or when you're doing something for the community. Even as an expert, you still have opportunities and privileges to volunteer. And that is something that would really, really encourage us to do as we progress. So discussing beyond volunteering, turning community service into long-term impact. We understand that the Youth Day of Service project is one that encourages young people across Africa to contribute positively to the community. Do something tangible for that community, where you live in or you reside in. And yes, you may be starting out as a volunteer, but this is something that can translate into a long-term impact. This is something that can big into a bigger future. And so to take us further this evening, Damilola, can you please share your first experience on community service and how it shaped your commitment into a long-term impact? Damilola, I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, I think Damilola is frozen.
Okay, I'm not sure. Okay,
Yes,
Obasanjo. Obasanjo, can you hear me? Please confirm if you can hear me.
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so
Can you
please,
hear me?
okay, yeah. Please, what motivated you to move beyond one-off volunteering into something more sustainable and transformative?
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, apologies, my video is off. This is to conserve network strength and ensure everyone can hear me. So what motivates me into moving beyond one-off volunteering? I think one-time volunteering is valuable, is good, but I began to see that to create real change, I need continuity, either with an organization or in a particular project or with a particular cause I believe in. For me, it was education, and that is why I have been on that place. So as I engage with underserved schools, community, students in underserved areas around Nigeria, through my work with Praise Up the Young, I continue to see recurring challenges such as lack of access to education, poor infrastructure, minimal support for teachers, and lack of community will in projects. And this motivated me to move from one-time volunteering with various organizations into starting my own and ensuring that there is structure around it. So I realized that I couldn't keep putting a band-aid on these deep-rooted issues, particularly on education issues, and I shifted from just being a volunteer to building systems. And these systems helped my organization to put structures that have supported various projects that have reached over 6,000 students over the years. And part of the project we have done includes projects such as back to school, school renovation projects, and all that. So what motivated me particularly is that I noticed that real change requires continuity. I needed to do this more often, focus on that same problem, and ensure we are solving the problem deeply. And like I always say, there are a lot of problems, there are a lot of challenges. We call them wicked problem in the non-profit sector, from education to health to civic engagement. This problem differs to gender. However, when you want to leave one off, volunteering to something more sustainable, you must choose a cause. That cause will motivate you to say, you know what, okay, can I focus on this cause and solve this cause for the next few years? Can I focus on this and provide sustainable solutions and solutions that will provide transformative change, results that cannot be argued? And this way, you will now move from one-off volunteering to it. However, that doesn't mean you stop volunteering, like you have mentioned. Even we volunteer as experts. Sometimes you volunteer as an expert to come in and bring in your expertise, your ideas on that same issue, it might not be related to your course particularly, but even in those fields, there are larger issues and there are micro issues. And so these are what have motivated me to move beyond just one-off volunteering into something more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Obasanjo. Thank you for that very brief and very precise history that you have shared with us. It's one of the things, one of the objectives of YDOS is actually to encourage young people to begin to be the change that they demand for. So instead of waiting for people to come and do it, you can start doing it. And that is one of the goals of YDOS. And you can see from what Obasanjo has shared with us about how he started. And when he started, he realized that, look, for this thing to really bring about a change, a tangible change, a sustainable change, he just had to continue in that path. And not just continue in that path, but make it more sustainable by ensuring that he's not just, working in one place and counting numbers and living, but he keeps working there until he can say, for a fact that, look, this change has happened, and before moving on to something else. So thank you so much for that, Obasanjo. Change requires continuity. Impact requires continuity. Thank you. Welcome back, Damilola. Apologies. It's the Nigerian network thing on a Friday. Friday evenings through weekends are very wonderful in this part of the world. So, Damilola, can you please share your first experience with community service and how it shaped your commitment to making a long-term impact? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Glad to be here. Straight to the point, my own journey, I can't tell my journey, my story, without referring back to my days back in church. Growing up in church, at a certain time, I volunteered in different, so anyone who is familiar with church knows that it's really a training ground for volunteerism. But my key story will be where I got the opportunity to become the youth coordinator, growing in volunteering, as it were. I had a number of young people that I constantly had to deal with. I was a young person myself, apparently, but I had a lot of my peers and my colleagues indirectly look up to me, especially for opportunities for career growth, job opportunities. And I recall having to try to solve this problem. And then, holding programs, holding sessions, opening up upskilling sessions, to then beginning to think of how can I continue to do this in the long run, and then thinking of how to create systems and sustainability models around it that has become what Get Home and Venture Studio is today. Interestingly, I recall then having young people say, hey, I just want to make fruit juice, I want to do this, and we're sitting down together and thinking of how do we make this happen? How do we help you? And those are the principles and the concepts I've learned from them, and still holds true today. I want to add something, by the way, because this is something that is very, very personal and dear to my heart, this topic that we're discussing. And it's the fact that so that we do not make volunteering so glamorous, and then people misconstrue it to mean that, oh, it must be something fancy, to just come to do. True volunteering can be painful. And I think I would love to put it out there. It can be painful, will involve sacrifices, will involve you truly giving of yourself up, losing something. You're losing your time that you could put to something else. Sometimes you're losing some of your resources. You're losing things that you could have converted to cash, or you could have done better somewhere else. But you're losing it for a greater purpose, which is humanity. That you're seeing your brother, you're seeing your sister, you're seeing people in your circle do better. And then it's much more than the gain that would have come to you. You're seeing it multiplied in others. And the truth is this, it always has a way of also paying back, which we should also talk about. But I think it's very important to let people know that volunteering is not a walk in the park. It's not just come and have fun and go. It's really truly digging deep to finding out what the pains are in your community, and then taking of yourself and giving of yourself to make the change. Let me stop there so I don't. Let me give the mic.
Thank you so much, Damilola. Actually, for someone that started as a volunteer, there are always so many examples. And like what Damilola said, volunteer comes at a cost. You're giving your time, you're giving your effort. In some cases, your money goes into it. I can tell you that for a fact. But the fact is, why you are always expecting somebody to drive your change, to bring about your change, what are you doing at your end? Still going back, just a gentle reminder of what YDOS, encourages young people to do. Begin to make the change that you desire to happen in your community. And that will take your time, it will take your effort, it will take your resources. Sometimes in the process, somebody might even hurt you. Yes, you will get angry. You will go home. You will ask yourself, who even sent me? Sometimes people, they do it, they collect money.
But why am I
doing this for free? Maybe some of you may know, I'm speaking Pidgin. Pidgin English in Nigeria is when we are really pained. We switch, like, why am I here? People are getting paid for this, and I sacrifice everything, and I still got insulted. And the truth is, if you really, 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 you genuinely want to make a change, you would go out there the next day again, and you will do it again, because you want to walk the talk. Thank you so much, Damilola. So to proceed, Obasanjo, please, can you share with the young people on this webinar tonight how they can identify opportunities for long-term impacts in the communities that they volunteer in or will be volunteering in the course of this project? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. How can young people identify opportunities for long-term impact in the communities where they will be volunteering? They can start identifying by listening first to the community. A lot of time we go up to communities, going to communities, thinking we are Einsteins and legendary change makers, and we feel our idea is the best. And a lot of time this doesn't work that way, because the community has to own the project or the idea. So we need to start by listening to the community. What is the community saying? What is the real challenge of the community? Also, we need to ask the right questions in order for us to listen well. When you are in the community listening, ask them, what really is the challenge? Why are you not going to school? Why is the water not rushing? Why is there no borehole here? Why is the road bad? You need to ask questions, because a lot of things look like you can decode why, but the truth is there are deeper reasons why these things exist in the community. Some of these issues deal with systematic thinking that has existed for ages, which no matter how much you are giving, no matter the millions, might not break that if you do not deal with the mindset first. So we need to ask first. Secondly, the right question. Then also, we need to spend time in the community. The issue of one-off project in community sometimes does not really work if you don't really know the community. At Word Connect, we normally encourage leaders or project leaders to be in the community, be people who are familiar with the community they are working with. So you need to spend time with the community, because this will allow you the ability to observe, ask the right questions that is really needed, and not just want to give, but also understand solutions from their own perspective. What you might think is a solution might not be a solution for the community. They might be looking at another angle entirely. And if you come from the angle, sometimes you have not just created a project, but you have also raised change agents within the community beyond your own project. And this is why you must learn to observe. Then also look for patterns. I always tell people, in every community, there are patterns. The problem didn't just start when you were born or when you got to that community. Some of these problems have existed for years. What are the patterns that have ensured? Ask people that have tried to solve that problem before. Or what did you face? Who opposed you? who supported you, what were the challenges. This way, you are avoiding the same short-term kind of project syndrome the others faced and the same issues they faced, the backlogs, the hindrances. You will be able to avoid it and mitigate against that. Then lastly, I would say align your skills and interests with the long-term needs in the community. A lot of time we go into community, we just have one idea. Most times when you get there, your idea changes. Because the community will tell you, no, this is not really what we want. This is not really the problem. Yes, we know students are not going to school, but it's not because there is no school, because they have not eaten. And you have come with all the back to school projects, all the notebooks and everything. But now you are discovering I need to feed them first to make them learn. And these are issues we have seen that if we as project leaders, as volunteers, as impact leaders, look towards speaking, listening, asking the right questions, we will be able to create long-term success and also learn to work with community and make them co-creators rather than just receivers of our impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Obasanjo. I like what you said about the fact that we want to go into community like Einstein, we have figured everything out. We just know this is what they need, and we try to convince them to accept what they need. So if you really want sustainability, if you want to go back to that same community after 6 months, after 1 year, and you want to see the impact of what you have done, still being sort of expanded or being sustained, you need to work with the community to align on what their needs are. However, don't get carried away, because you might go and they tell you they want a borehole. So you need to also let them know that, look, we are just young people and we just want to make a change. The same way we are telling politicians, come and work. We too want, in our own little way, we want to contribute. This thing we are doing is from us, is from young people's pockets. So they know that nobody gave you one huge money to come and sink borehole or build hospital or renovate Chief Palace. So yeah, so it's good you also let them know your capacity upfront, so it manages their expectations, and then they're able to meet you halfway to say, look, this is where we need your support. And when you are able to do that, you're able to partner with them. Years to come, they are going to sustain that impact. Thank you so much, Obasanjo. Now over to you, Damilola. Quick one. Now, YDOS, it's all about SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. Whatever these young people, whatever we're encouraging them to do in line with this project is that it should be in line with the SDGs. Now, the question is, how can they ensure that their efforts align with the Sustainable Development Goals? How does whatever they want to do in the community align with the SDGs? Thank you.
Yeah, so that's a very straightforward question, because one thing that I like about the SDG goals is that if you look at the environment, and if you look at the challenges we're all trying to solve in the environment, and you look at the SDG goals, I have not found one problem that you cannot tie really to the SDG goals in one way or the other. So that being said, I think that one of the most important things to do to ensure alignment is to understand what the SDG goals are. It just allows you to frame or to reframe, and to put the challenge that you're trying to solve in the right basket or in the right baskets, because there are sometimes that one particular problem you're solving is actually speaking to 2, 3, and even 4 SDG goals at the same time. I think that, of course, those who sat to design the SDG goals really did a great job in trying to put challenges into different buckets. So for anyone wanting to say, hey, whatever it is I'm doing, I want it to align, first and foremost, you need to understand what the goals are. You need to understand their definitions on what they mean and what they actually speak to. And you see possible intersections, possible interweaving. Then you can look, it's there that you can look at potential challenges you want to solve. and then find the closest or the interpretation of that SDG goals. But beyond the SDG goals, if I might add, if I'm permitted, I think there is also the issue of culture that I love to emphasize. Because I recall in one particular session where someone had then asked that were the SDGs created by Africans. Yes, and it was a very fantastic question to have asked. But I was able to explain that, see, this is universal, first and foremost. So, even Africa remains within the context of the global economy. But one thing that I'd love to take the opportunity to mention is the fact that in Africa, I have noticed that we have this cultural challenge as regards leadership, and which is why the work that we'll do in Deep Africa is very important. And there to mind that we naturally are in a place where everybody is aspiring to whatever challenges that they are also even in. Because again, first and foremost, you can't give what you don't have. So sometimes even the volunteer is in need of intervention too. So it ties to what I said earlier when I said that volunteering is painful and it's selfless. So sometimes it means that you're looking beyond your own challenges to be able. Okay, someone says my voice is low, so let me get a little bit closer. I hope my voice is better now. So you can't give what you don't have, which means that sometimes the volunteer, himself or herself is in need of intervention. I said that. And so what it means that you then need to be very deliberate to look out of yourself. I was speaking to the fact that in Africa, we have this culture where anybody who is in leadership is then time to reap. I've paid my dues, so it's then time to reap what it is that I have paid over the years. And then this spirit of actually giving back is then lost on leadership, and which speaks to a lot of things that happens in the political space where people are, take opportunities and then are focused just on themselves and just on protecting so that they never have to fall back into whatever it is that they have gone through to get to where they are. So while we're looking at the SDGs, I think that we also, as Africans, should be very intentional about the culture shift of volunteering that we want to bring to the table. Yes, targeted at the SDG goals, but constantly reminding ourselves that even while we focus on the SDG goals, I think there is one fundamental goal that should lift it, that should lift all the SDG goals for us, and it's a cultural shift, a shift in mindset, a shift in behavior where everybody is not just thinking about what it is that I can get from it. And my worry is that sometimes I hope that young people get it even with the YDOS project. It's not revenue generating. It's not I've been looking for work, thank God, and I have work with YDOS. No. So yes, the focus is on the SDG goals, but I think that one fundamental thing that must change in anybody that is coming into the YDS program is first to say that while we're focused on the SDG goals, we're very deliberate in Africa to create leadership thinking, the kind of thinking that then ensures that we're thinking of our neighbor. We know it's painful. We know there are things that we need intervention of ourselves, but I want to look beyond, I want to extend beyond myself to help my neighbor achieve the goals, achieve challenges that I can categorize within these SDG goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damilola. So to be able to implement projects that are in line with the SDGs, we need to first of all understand what the SDGs are. So you see zero hunger. Your proposal should not be like, oh, we want to feed community people, so give us money to cook and feed community people is in line with SDG. Go online, read about it. What does zero hunger mean? So we're talking about recycling and waste management. Read about it, really have a full grasp of what is being required, and that will guide you better. So you're seeing something on equality, and then the next thing you say, okay, so in our village council, the community where I stay, there are no women in the council. what I want to do is to go and make sure that they put women on that council. As brilliant as that idea is, you need to understand the cultural setting of that place and tread carefully so that they don't kick you out before you enter, you know. So sit down and really understand what do these SDGs mean? You know, understand the context behind each of them. Life under the sea, life on land, you know, you just see one phrase. Take your time and really understand what it means, and then you know how your project can suit in better. I'm sure as we proceed, Sheyi and Victoria are going to be telling you what the available fund is for, because even the funders that are supporting this project, they too have the particular SDGs that they want to tie their funds to. So Sheyi and Victoria's generosity cannot go out of scope either, you know. So these are the things that we should bear in mind as we progress. After the military era. Yes, I'm very, very young. So over to you, Obasanjo. How can community projects be designed to remain impactful even when the volunteers move on? So we talked about aligning with the communities. I mean, you mentioned it earlier that they should engage the communities. They should ask the community people what they want. So please expand further, really. How can how can they design these projects to ensure that once they are done in 1 month, 2 weeks, these projects, the impact of these projects remain? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So I'll start with your project should ensure it solves real community problem, and not just what you think is a problem. It's very, very important. And so that's why we mentioned you must ask questions. Secondly, making it impactful and making it sustainable begins with ownership. From day one, you must ensure the community see themselves as co-creators of the project and not just beneficiaries. If they see themselves as co-creators of the project will remain impactful, because even after you have left the community or after the project timeline, they will still keep saying, oh, we were part of those that made this project happen. You must give them that ownership of the project. You must make them feel they own the project. They were part of the solution and not just receivers of the solution. It is very, 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 very important. Then you must also involve them. Involve them by using the local resources as much as possible. A lot of time we bring all the resources, buy from the resources. Something you can get in the community, you buy it from the developed place and bring it into these low-income communities. Most times you should ensure you use those resources as much as possible that are available to you. That way, when you step away from the project, it won't collapse, because those who supplied those resources will want to ensure that their resources are being used and is credible. So you can have that buy-in of the community, you can have that design of the community or design of your project to ensure that the community is involved. Also, you need to engage and train the local community, particularly the volunteers you'll be using on that project. When you're using volunteers, ensure that you call for volunteers, not just experts outside, but those within the community when you are designing the work. So that way, the youth you use, the women who engage on the work, the young people, the artisans, the experts within the community, they will get involved. As they are working on your project, they are building capacities. The training might not be anything formal, but as much as you get them involved, they are building capacity. And when you are also designing, ensure that you are designing to solve the problem, not to increase the problem, because most times we are in a rush to come up with projects and our solution creates more bigger problem when you leave the community. Just like the one you mentioned, oh, women are not allowed on the council. And before, you do not go for stakeholders engagement. You just go and start saying, no, women must come on the council. And before you know, there are a lot of questions because the last person they brought on the council did a lot of funny things. And at that moment, you are creating more problem for the community rather than solving the problem. So in your design phase, as you are designing the project, how much stakeholders engagement have you done? How much questions have you asked? How many key gatekeepers in the community have you met? Those who decide if your project will be successful or not, irrespective of the funding base you come into the community with. How many of them have you met? So in your design phase, ensure there is largely a lot of consultation. I tell people during the design phase, ask questions. That is where you have the opportunity to ask questions. Once you have designed the project, there's no more question asking. You are just implementing and doing monitoring and evaluation. But the time you have to ask questions is before you implement. So during the design phase, consult with a lot of stakeholders to help you design this impactful project. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Obasanjo. I just liked how you progressed with that. Engage the young people. So you're going, a lot of you are looking for volunteers across. Don't just leverage on the volunteers that Leap Africa is going to connect with you. Also leverage on the young people that are in that community. Get them to come on board as volunteers and be part of the work you are doing. And also get them to be part of what you are designing. So from the onset, your plan, how you intend to go about it, get them to be part of the process. When they are part of the process, it begins to build ownership. And when ownership is built, it is easier to sustain impact. Thank you so much, Damilola. Quickly, sorry, Obasanjo, sorry. Thank you so much for that. So we're coming back to you, Damilola. We know you have experienced quite a number of challenges in sustaining community initiatives, both in the rural areas, urban areas. Even when you bring young people together and you want to work with them, over time, in an attempt to sustain that initiative, you face some challenges. How have you been able to overcome some of, or what are some of these challenges, and how have you been able to overcome them? Thank you. Damilola, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mercy. I think that the biggest issue with implementing any project to any community will really be education. If I take a cue from what Obasanjo has explained, and I add to it, it will mean that if you ask all the questions, and you ask the right questions, you should be able to run a very smooth project. However, the reality that is aspirational. The reality is that sometimes you ask all the questions only to get on the project, despite your dedicated questions, to find out that either your interpretation of the answer or they gave you some answer to make you look good. They gave you political responses, and then you didn't dig deep enough. It happens. So in project management, there's something we call progressive elaboration. Progressive elaboration means that, and it's a term, it's a project management term, you can look it up. It means that no matter how good you are at the planning phase, you will always be hit with reality when you then begin to execute. It then means that you then have to start iterating. If you have partners that you're working with that allows for changes, even while the project is already going on, you can go back and then quickly make adjustments to come back. But of course, the ideal is that you ask the best question. That's the best case, right? So I think that most of the challenge really is about understanding what the intervention is, how to use it to make the best of it. So customer education, beneficiary education is always fantastic. So you can even help them see the reason why they should take ownership of it, right? And then, because one of the hardest things to change in any human being is culture. So if we're used to going to use, forgive my example, pit latrines, And that's what the people there are used to. And then you bring, a mobile toilet, and that people have to sit up. It takes a while for people to then adjust to new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, even when it is apparently better for them. And so I think that the one major challenge that, without a doubt, all people will always face is the acceptance, especially if you're doing something that is really changing. That
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, back to network challenges there. Apologies. So quickly, yeah, back to network issues. Yeah, so thank you so much. So there's always bound to be challenges, but I liked what Damilola said. Some of these challenges can actually be preempt. You can preempt some of these challenges and begin to figure ways to resolve them. That is one. And secondly, take your time to educate people. So don't be quick to impose your brilliant ideas and brilliant projects on them. Take a step back, educate them. This is one thing I'm a big fan of. I will take my time to train you before I put money in your hands or leave my project in your hands. And I have seen cases where after training people, you don't even have to show up before they get it done. They are willing to commit their resources to make it happen. That is what happens when you empower people's minds. So take time to, first of all, empower their minds. Enlighten them first before, bringing that wonderful change, that, change to them. So it's easier to sustain a change when the beneficiaries have been enlightened. It is easier to sustain a change when the people have been educated, when they have been made aware, when they have been sensitized. There are so many words out there that you can use, but change is more sustainable when you have, first of all, empowered people intellectually before executing your projects. Thank you so much for that, Damilola. Obasanjo, so we are almost wrapping up, so we can take some of your questions. So Obasanjo, over to you. How can young change makers measure real impact beyond social media likes? Because we know this is the age of TikTok and Tweet and X and what have you. And people just want to do this project and post it online and do videos and, get people to monitor the process and get the likes. But beyond those likes and comments on social media, how can they measure real impact of the work they have done? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That was a really big question. Visibility or impact, which should I chase? Well, I think how young people can really measure impact beyond the social media clout is to ensure first and foremost that they are doing the real work. So not every project that is visible is really making impact. Some projects do not spend a lot of time making real impact in the community, but focus a lot of large fund in promoting the project. So a lot of many projects can have visibility on social media, doesn't really translate to that they're changing lives or solving the problem in which they aim to solve. So young people must be very careful not to get caught in that social media trap. And it's a very, very real issue. But however, how can you now ensure as a young change maker going for this YDS project, how do I really measure the impact of my work? Is to measure change where it matters. You know your project. Measure the right thing. Do not measure trend only. Measure the output and the outcome of your work. The outcome or the output. The output can be basically how many people attended the training you are organizing within that community center. That is the output. Now, post-attendance, how many people go back to really implement what you said in that training? Now you are measuring the outcome of it. And with this post one, you can even get much visibility and more posts on social media if you measure it right. You need to also ensure that you use the right tools. Now, things have become more easier. There are a lot of surveys you can use online to measure. Yes, you might be dealing with rural communities who don't really are not that educated, but you can ask them the questions and fill anonymous survey on their behalf. And with this way, get the right data for your project. Not just during implementation, before, what was the condition? Not in story mode alone, in numbers. You need to know how many kilometers it takes them to walk to school now that you want to bridge this gap. How many students attend the school? How many girls were not using menstrual pad before you get into the community? Yeah. How many have you now provided it to? How many are continuing to use this reusable menstrual pad? How many people visit the local health center before you came? How many, since you have renovated it, were able to still access it? How many doctors were on site? How many now have continued visiting after you left? Most times you don't need to go back to the community to measure this. With a phone call, we have technology right now. You can access these data. And with little things such as Google Doc, Kobo Collect, various tools you can use to it. And the good thing with AI coming now is that you can translate your measuring data or your measured data into various translations or interpreted materials such as charts, pie charts, by just typing it on AI tools. And this way, you even have more content to share. Also, you can leverage on testimonials to know if your project is really working. Ask them questions. Okay, what has been the impact of this on our work? Oh, we have done this sensitization and now everybody looks motivated. What has been the impact? Ask the real questions so that you will avoid the Perspire to Maguire trap, where everybody comes from training and everybody is energized. But post-training, nobody implements anything. And before you know, you just have motivated people, but no action. So you must make sure that you take testimonials that shows that. Then track key metrics. Don't track everything. Not everything should be tracked on your project. Key metrics, attendance, income level, results, previous data. You must make sure you track this. Then after you have now finished measuring the real impact of your work, you can now focus on storytelling. Because storytelling is also important. Visibility is important to scale your work. But however, data gives your work weight than just telling stories. With the stories you are saying, now the funders are coming and say, oh, we love your project, but can you tell us how many people did you reach? And you did not count how many people attended the training. Then you're not cracking your head, okay, maybe 60 to 50. And the guy is like, I thought you said you did this project with the old pictures we are seeing online. So data will give your work more weight and stories will promote it more. But especially if you are seeking funding, scale, and support in future, you must ensure you have everything you measured well arranged and well documented so that you can publish good impact stories even while using social media. And therefore, you will now gain both the visibility and the impact of the work and not just going for visibility without impact. This is very, very important for you as a young change maker to measure the real impact of your work and still promote it to receive social media applause. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Obasanjo. Thank you. So you need both, but you need to create a balance. Yeah, so you're putting your story out there on social media platform. How are you putting it out there? What information are you putting out there? So you can actually put out your impact and not just throw pictures, carelessly or throw data carelessly. What kind of metrics are you putting out? So are you able to say that when we were done with this training, we noticed that there was knowledge improvement by this percentage? We noticed that this is now the number of people that are now doing ABC compared to XYZ. So when you are able to put out your data like that to show from where you started before you came and what happened after you came, then you are putting out impact. You are making your impact visible. I love that. Because sometimes you just finish training people. Like what he said, the kind of questions you ask for people to give you real response of the impact of what you have done. You finish, I said, the training was fantastic. It was wonderful. It was interesting. We learned a lot. And it has ended there. After your training, nothing else has happened. And they learned a lot. But there are questions you put out there that somebody will tell you that before I came for your training, this is the perspective I had about this. But after the training, this is what I've been made to understand. And I'm even going back to share this information with other people. You know, that is impact. So thank you very much, Obasanjo. Now that Obasanjo mentioned something about technology being available, you know, to make your reporting easier, to make your storytelling easier, to make your visibility easier. And that takes us back to Damilola. Damilola works in that sector, and we'd like you to share how we can leverage on technology to scale or sustain our initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy, and thank you very much for those very insightful words, Obasanjo. I would normally say that technology in itself is not a solution. Technology in itself is not an initiative. Technology in itself does not solve the real human problems that we have. Technology is simply an enabler. It just makes the things that you naturally will do, you're able to do it faster, you're able to do it cheaper, you're able to do it more efficiently. So technology is an enabler. In the business world, we'll normally say that if you're running a business and you're running at a loss, and then you think you want to bring in technology to fix that business, what happens is that you run at more loss, because what technology basically does is that it looks at what you're doing and helps you multiply it. So if you're running at a loss, it helps you multiply it to make more loss. But there are certain things you need to change about that business. I'm going to relate it to projects here. There's certain things you need to change about business so that it begins to yield a little profit. Once it begins to yield a little profit, you then bring technology in, it then multiplies it, then it's positive multiplication. So likewise, I would love to disabuse so that people do not throw technology as a solution to everything. But really, the core of what it is that you want to solve must be intact. The core of your solution must be intact, right? If you could not write the report in the first place, but you want AI to support you to write the report, you're going to write rubbish. But if you could write, if you know what a good report then looks like, if you know what a good pie chart looks like, then it's easy for you to now go to AI for support, and then what will take you 1 week, within 2 hours, you are done. Now, that is the power of technology. So technology does not replace the fact that you don't know what it is that you're doing. So for young people to take advantage of technology, I encourage that don't think big technology to start with. Look at how technology in very small ways, and I think it comes naturally to us now in this generation. So we do not really have to be very intentional about, I must use technology. Technology is just all around us. Before we know it, we're already using it. We're even starting this whole conversation based on certain technology. Your application is on the platform, is technology, right? The revision, the communication back to you is technology. As you engage the community, likely technology is already a part of us. But what we just need to be a little bit conscious about is to be sure that the substance of what we are producing, of what we are providing, is genuine, and then where technology can help scale, make it faster, normally with this fund I have, I could be able to do 2, but we can now start thinking innovatively. How can this same thing with the same funding multiply to more people just using technology? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Damilola, for that. So technology is not going to replace the work. Technology is there to make your work easier. It is there to make it better. So if you know what your report should look like and you know what to put in your report, what technology simply makes it do is to upgrade your grammar, upgrade your context, make it more beautiful, like what Obasanjo mentioned earlier about using charts and all those things. Those days you have to probably draw charts and then scan it and then add it to your report. But now there is a way you can just link it to your report, put in your data, put your colors, and your chart just comes out and is added to your report looking brilliant. And if there's a mistake, you simply go back and, correct it, update your chart. So technology is there, but somebody has to collect the data. So if you don't collect the data, how is technology going to help you to develop the data? So I hope you've been able to understand. So finally, to both our panelists today, Obasanjo and Damilola. Damilola, your mic is still turned on, so you can go first. What is the last advice? What advice do you have for young people who want to take this beyond one-term volunteering, who want, after YDOS, they want to go beyond that, you know, what advice do you have for them? And after you, Obasanjo, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy. I think that very important to say that even though I started on a gloomy note to say that volunteering can be painful and will involve some sacrifice, I would love to balance it as I exit by saying that volunteering can also be very rewarding. It can form the foundation where sometimes you end up building real sustainable businesses from. You can meet people, you can get opportunities from volunteering and from giving. I would encourage every young person as I exit this conversation to say that please, despite what is going on around us, Africa really needs us young people. We are the ones that can be flexible in terms of our behavior and culture and about looking out for one another. And let's be very intentional about giving much more than we receive from the universe, knowing fully well that the universe has a way of coming back to ensure that there is balance. You will get it back in multiple folds. And so let's be encouraged. Let's truly give. Let's truly solve challenges that are around our own communities. And let's watch as the universe finds, very innovative ways to ensure that we are compensated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damilola. Thank you. Obasanjo, please, what piece of advice do you have for young people who want to
Okay, thank you so much. For me, so as young persons going beyond volunteering, think long term. Remember, you are not just solving problems, you are building systems. And you need to know that it's starting from the YDOS, but however, you can build it into systems that solve systematic problems across our communities. And you need to understand that it's okay to start small, but however, stay consistent and don't be afraid to ask for help or collaborate with your peers or seniors in the field or those who have gone ahead before you. It's also one thing to note that avoid the African I want to blow syndrome. There's this African I want to blow syndrome among young people. You need to avoid it. Your community doesn't necessarily need another hero. They only need someone who is committed to providing change, building systems in place. And so you need to avoid that I want to blow. No success is built overnight. Forget all what we say in movies and everything. Every organization you are seeing took years to build, and nobody started off and the next day is already on CNN. No, you need to take time. Understand that growth takes time, and when you are building systems and solving wicked problems, it will take time. So do not compare yourself so early. Avoid that trap of, oh, this person is doing better than me. I'm just starting with this one project. I don't even have funding for it. No, just know that it's a long term, it's a marathon and not a sprint. And with that way, you will understand that you are building systems and not just a one-off project. And with that, you will have the fuel to build organizations in future, projects that will last the test of time and change your community by starting with just that one person, that one project at a time to become a success. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we avoid comparison. Remember, it's just like when I started, I mentioned it, volunteering is progressive. Take your time. You're not comparing, don't compare yourself with anyone. Do your bit and do it well and do it excellently. Thank you so much, Damilola and Obasanjo, for coming tonight and sharing from your wealth of knowledge. I believe a lot of young people on this call have been empowered to really genuinely want to volunteer and possibly go beyond, just YDOS. So thank you so much. So do we have any questions? I believe Sheyi and Victoria have been responding to questions in the chats earlier on. Yeah, so those chats are more project related, and they've been responding. So do we have any other question or comments? Okay, so please join me to appreciate our panelists tonight. Let's see your response. through your chat session. I want you to show your appreciation in whichever way you can, as your own way of saying thank you for what they have shared with us tonight, for how they have enlightened us and empowered us to do more as young people who desire change. I'm looking out, I'm waiting for your reaction. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been quite an interesting session. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Okay, so we still have a series of these webinars and Twitter space coming up. Please look out for our emails and notifications and kindly make it a date with us as we power through and prepare for the Youth Day of Service 2025. Thank you once again, Obasanjo and Damilola. I feel very delighted and happy to have moderated this panel and to have really been part of what you have shared tonight. Thank you so much. I saw somebody, Oluwatobilola, raising his or her hand. Okay, so that was
I
okay.
must not to check the Q&A session. Seems there's a question there.
Okay. I think somebody was asking about the project in Castina. It's not something I can respond at the moment because you might need to check back end to be able to respond to that question. So what do you do when you start your project implementation and you discover a bigger problem that keeps creating setbacks in your present project? So I was facilitating a session, I think that was just last week. And I was talking about decision gates. So it was a session on project management. And I was talking about how there are points you get to at the beginning of your project. You just know to end that project. You mustn't complete every project you start. Project management is adaptive, it's very dynamic. Don't engage your community with the mindset that what I have started, I must finish. It doesn't necessarily work that way. So there are some kind of challenges you begin to experience, especially if you have gone to a community like 3 times and they are still undecided about what they want to do. You might want to start considering going to another community. You mustn't work with that group of people. You must not work in that community. Time will not allow me to share real life experiences with you because I have been down that road and I had to halt my activity in those communities and go elsewhere and start afresh. Especially, look, the way I work is once I have spent 5 to 10% of the resources that has been allocated to that project with that group or with that community and we have not made an headway, that is a point to go back and decide if we want to continue with that group or in that community or move on. And where you are in a fix, please contact the Leap Africa project team. Even if they're overwhelmed, they will link you to some of us and we can support you and guide you on how to restructure and move on. So it doesn't have to become a big problem. No. These are things that if you're coming back to liaise with your team to brainstorm, to ask questions, sometimes after 2 weeks, you know not to continue with that project. Sometimes it's even on the very first visit, you will know that, look, we should go elsewhere. So reach out to us and we will support you. But a lot of these things can be avoided from the design phase. When you engage the community, when you engage the group, from when you started your planning, from when you started your design, like Obasanjo mentioned earlier, you are also better prepared to make decisions and know, because you just know if these people are going to be problematic, you know early on. So at that point where it's only transport fare you have spent, close shop and look for another group of people who are interested and another community who are interested. But please always get back to us and we'll support you. Thank you very much. Sheyi and Victoria, please, maybe you can share Obasanjo's full name and Damilola's full name so they can follow them on LinkedIn. Thank you all so much once again. It's been an interesting session with all of you. We look forward to seeing you in our Twitter spaces and subsequent webinars. Sheyi, any last words from you? Thank you.
Thank you, Messi. That will be all. There's nothing from my end. Thank you. And thank you so much for moderating this session.
Okay, so please, to everyone from East Africa, from Southern Africa, West Africa, do have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.